In this next section, we're going to learn how to convert units from one unit to another. And of course, we are constantly ending up having to convert units because they're measured in one set of units and we must convert to another to make our data more standardized for putting data in tables and so forth like that. It may have been measured in a British system at one time and need conversion to the metric system. So how do we do these conversions? Well, first of all, let's practice our conversions with units from the British system. I think that would be a little bit easier to get a handle on. Let's look at a foot. The way we can do this, if we have something like 3 feet, and say we want to convert that to inches, of course you know immediately in your mind how to do that. You know there are 12 inches in a foot. But when we get to very complicated conversions, this doesn't work very well. It's very easy to make a mistake and multiply by something when we should divide by it. There is a method that will keep us from making a mistake. And that is, if we want to convert 3 feet to inches, we make an equation between the feet and the inches. And we can say 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. And now we can divide either of those sides by the other side and get 1. We can either end up with 1 foot over 12 inches is equal to 1, and we can also get 12 inches over 1 foot is equal to 1. Now since 1 is 1 and we can either multiply or divide by it any time, and let's imagine that we're going to do multiplication. Let's imagine now we want to take our 3 feet, and the way we would proceed is we'd write 3 feet is equal to 3 feet. Okay, well that's a obvious identity, and so no one would argue with that. But we're going to take this 3 feet and multiply it by 1. Now what type of 1 are we going to multiply it by? We're either going to multiply it by feet divided by inches, and if we did that, we'd end up with feet squared per inch. We don't want that. What we want to multiply by is we want to multiply by 12 inches divided by 1 foot. Now when you see that type of structure, then you can say, oh, I can take the foot and cancel them out, and I end up with 3 times 12, which will be 36 inches. You can do the same type of thing. For example, if you have a snail that may be crawling at, see if you can work this problem, 3 inches per fortnight. That's 2 weeks. And take the fortnight, which is 2 weeks, convert it back to seconds, take your inch, convert it back to meters, and see how fast this snail is moving in terms of meters per second. And you can do your conversion that way. Well, how do we do those long types of conversions? Well, let's suppose we were going to do one that's a little bit simpler. I'll leave that as a challenge for you. Let's take a mile, or let's take 2 miles. Got 2 miles, and certainly 2 miles is equal to 2 miles. And we want to convert that over to inches. How would we do it? Well, we know that a mile, 1 mile, is equal to 5,280 feet. Therefore, it follows that a mile divided by 5,280 feet is equal to 1, and that's also equal to 5,280 feet divided by 1 mile. Which would we want to multiply by? Well, we'd want to multiply by this one here because if we have a mile in the numerator, we want a mile in the denominator. So this would, if we multiply by this, we'd have 5,280 feet divided by 1 mile, and we can see that the mile is going to cancel with the mile. Now we've got feet, and we need to convert feet to inches. So how would we do that? We know 1 foot divided by 12 inches is equal to 1, and it's also equal to 12 inches over 1 foot. I went a little bit faster here, and you can see that the ratio is unity. And therefore, I can take this and multiply by which one? Well, I want the foot in the denominator, so it'll cancel. So I want to multiply by this. So multiply by 12 inches divided by 1 foot. And so now you can see that the mile cancels with the mile, the foot cancels with the foot, and I end up with units of an inch. And so I'd have 2 times 5,280 times 12. And you can work that out, and it'll give you exactly how many inches we have in 2 miles. It's an interesting point that you should remember, to know that most of the cities in the United States are laid out where 1 mile is equal to 10 blocks. So each block in a normal city, as you go from traffic light to traffic light, is 1/10 of a mile. It's a very useful type of measurement to know if you're going to do jogging or walking. So when you walk 10 blocks from the same position in one block to the same position in another, in a standard city, then you have walked 10 miles. You've walked 1 mile by walking 10 blocks. So remember now that our unit conversion is always formed by forming a unity, and then we can multiply that unity by any expression. And we multiply it in such a way that we get a cancellation, as I have described here. Now, I want to point out that in working with units, you can only add units of the same type. You can multiply and divide units of any kind, but you don't really want to mix them up too much. For example, if you're doing area, you don't want an inch by a mile, so that you would end up with a unit of area that would be an inch mile. You want to use the same units when you're doing both sides of an area or all 3 sides of a volume. So you use inches, inches, and inches, or you use miles, 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 or feet, 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 just as a tradition. It wouldn't be wrong doing it this way. In fact, there are a couple of places we'll see in science where we do use some things, like with thermal conductivity, we mix up inches and feet, but that's kind of an old British system that's kind of lingering on, and we'll cover that when the time comes in thermodynamics. Also, you must remember that you can't add or subtract except units of the same type. It makes no sense to take 1 pound and add to it 3 feet. This has absolutely no meaning whatsoever. So you can only add mass to mass, length to length, time to time, area to area, and so forth, or subtract them. So addition and subtraction must be done with exactly the same units. Although I can multiply and divide any units I want, still remember what the traditions are. And we form these derived units like meters per second or kilograms per meter. This is a mass per length. Or meters squared or meters cubed. And these give us our derived units in the Scientific International System. It turns out that what we do with Scientific International System is we always form things so that they're multiples of 10. And we name those with the various prefixes, something that we're going to talk about in just a moment.